TheMesh.tv, an online network of original free audio and video shows based out of Western North Carolina, reaching the entire world. Listen and watch through iTunes or through the website TheMesh.tv.
Welcome, everyone, to the RealTailgate.com College Football Hangout. This is a Google Hangout sponsored by Smithfield's Chicken and Barbecue. I'm your host, Big J. Waldo. Ben Swain is our producer, and the folks over at Talking Moose Media have the technical stuff under control. You can join us every Wednesday live right here at 9:30 p.m. as Ben, myself, and a rotating set of panelists get together to discuss college football in North Carolina. We would like to thank our sponsor, Smithfield's Chicken and Barbecue, as they're very patient with us. And they want me to remind you, it's just not a tailgate without the barbecue. Log on to RealTailgate.com for special offers, a list of locations, archived editions of this Hangout, and there you can download the RealTailgate.com College Football Podcast. This week we have a giant crowd attending. And forgive me if I'm not in order or whatever. Of course, Ben Swain. He smells kind of like Hickory Farms, from what I'm told.
Confirmed.
Returning is Dijana Kunovac from inside Carolina.
No fair.
Yes.
Then we got James Curl from RiddickandReynolds.com.
Hey, you can see we've
back again.
Sorry,
Thrilled to talk about East Carolina is Patrick Johnson.
I should be introduced as the leader of the Pick'ems. The guy who's leading in the Pick'ems is how I should be introduced.
Oh,
you're
that's
actually
right.
you're actually tied with my wife. I would like to point out.
Not here.
She can be here in a moment, sir.
Okay. All right. Next, joining us at the last minute, skin of his teeth, Rasheem Lee from the RealTailgate.com College Football Podcast. He's fresh off of watching the G-Men and is threatened to leave the Hangout if I mention it again. Shane Ryan's here from Grantland. Thanks for coming, Shane.
Hey, thank you. I played that myself just to show where my self-esteem is at currently.
I like how you jumped at the end there to not end your sentence with a preposition.
Thank you.
Well, nice recovery. And last but not least, and it has only just occurred to me that no wonder I always announce this way, because it's like first name alphabetical order left to right on my screen. I don't know why. But Sean Crest, that's how you always end up being last in my list. Sean's from the bottom of the pile.
Yep. I was going to change my name to Sweet Pea, but I guess that wouldn't move me up.
How about A Sweet Pea?
How about Aardvark, the Sweet Pea?
AAA Sweet Pea, so it's first in the yellow pages.
How's everybody doing? Don't all jump in at once.
I'm good. Just hanging out here and, enjoying... Oh, sorry. Sorry, that
was planned.
That was the Cleveland Browns. They're in need of a quarterback. They heard that I went to NC State, and so they just assume, I guess, everybody who goes to NC State knows how to play quarterback in the NFL. So I apologize about that. I'll go ahead and put that on.
I was hoping that was going to be someone famous that you had staged a phone call so you could name drop.
I don't know anybody famous.
But it was the Cleveland Browns.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
There's nobody famous on the Browns.
It would be even better if it was like somebody from Lillington.
Lillington.
What is that a fictional village in a children's book?
It's just down the road from lovely Willow Springs.
Okay.
Is that all of Willow Springs in that picture?
Well, no, this is just a new football stadium that we built.
Okay.
Bad place for Christians.
Yeah, Elon is not welcome here.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Okay. So y'all help me out here. I'm excited about two games this coming weekend. Before we jump into some thrilling discussion, I'm excited personally about two games coming up, East Carolina, Carolina. And I'm a little bit excited about the Rec and Tech. The Battle of the Techs.
Yes.
I think you're the only one who's excited.
I mean, you want to
I'm real calm.
Don't everybody jump in on those two.
Was that a question?
Listen, I'm looking forward to actually watching the ECU and UNC game. I think that this might be the game that we actually learn something about both teams.
Because we haven't at all in any game.
I don't think we have at all.
No, listen, I get what you're saying. I feel like I watch these Carolina games and I step away from them. I'm like, what?
You don't know what they are yet.
No, not at all.
I can tell you what they are. They're a bad defensive team, so Bryn Renner's going to have a big day, potentially. They've been out-physicaled in this game, this series, every time they played it in Chapel Hill for the upteenth year, thanks to Terry Holland's stroke of genius scheduling. And it's going to be, I think, Carolina easily in this one, unless East Carolina can duplicate what they did against a very bad offensive Virginia Tech team at home defensively, and I just don't think they can. There stands to be a lot of points, but I just think UNC is a double-digit favorite in this thing.
You don't think that East Carolina's going to be able to move the ball against North Carolina? I mean, their defense hasn't shown as much of anything this year also.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying. The history in this series has been Carolina has been the more physical team of the two in recent times. If North Carolina is more physical at home, if they're able to put pressure on Shane Carden, and if they're able to do the things that Virginia Tech's defensive backs, I know we're not talking about anywhere near the caliber of players, but if they can do the things that Virginia Tech's defensive backs did against East Carolina's receivers, made it a long afternoon on them, really physical with them, and you saw the result. East Carolina only managed a mere 10 points.
Right.
You know, one thing you said that kind of surprised me a little bit is that we're still on this Bryn Renner should have a big game thing, because how many consecutive games have we said that?
Well, it's bound to happen eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to rain eventually too, right?
I just think, well, the other part of this too, it's interesting. You know, Jay mentioned Georgia Tech there in his open. I mean, in the second half, the Carolina offense went south, and they have a chance to get real healthy, I think, this weekend, because I really do believe East Carolina defensively still does not have the horses. They have no ability to put any pressure on the quarterback, and their defensive backs are really helpless at times and routinely get burnt, and we've been watching this during the entire Ruffin McNeil era.
But that's the problem with UNC. It's just inconsistency on the offensive end of things, because they have these spurts where they look really great and they drive the ball down the field, and then you get second half of Georgia Tech and you're like, what happened? And it's the fact that the other team took the halftime to scheme against them and they figured out what they were doing. So is Bryn Renner going to have that big game, or is this the offense that we're looking at?
And also, I mean, as a non-native of North Carolina, can you guys explain to me what the cultural deal with East Carolina is? Like, yeah, we know NC State has the inferiority complex. Duke is the arrogant carpetbaggers, and North Carolina plays it both ways. What is Eastern Carolina? It's not Eastern, is it? Just East Carolina
fans during basketball season. That's what it is.
Don't call it that. God knows, don't call it Eastern Carolina. They'll send you all kinds of hate mail.
I have seen fights started from that happening.
Shane is trying way too hard to prove that he's not from North Carolina. Like, we get it. You're not from North Carolina.
I have a Statue of Liberty figurine with me next time. I'm gonna pop it up right next to me.
Wait, so are you from New Jersey?
No, I'm from New York.
I mean,
but not
I'm
the
from
cool,
New
not
Jersey,
the cool
so
part.
it's fine.
I'm from
it's okay.
Okay, thank you. I've been through New Jersey. It's all. You're right.
Okay, so
you know what, Shane? You talked
since
about
we've
culture
evolved here into New York versus New Jersey, where are the Giants anyway?
We have two New York teams that play in New Jersey. The Giants are currently getting pummeled by the Panthers. Probably still. They should be on their way to Kansas City, but they might still be giving up points to the Panthers.
Stop it.
They were so bad they couldn't get a plane ride back north. They're still there getting
that just might be because the airport in Charlotte is terrible, but that's a conversation for another day.
All right. All
but
right,
seriously,
so
though, can somebody answer my question?
Yeah, Shane, I think I could speak to it.
it's
Obviously,
a whole show.
well, it is a
Don't.
whole, but I'll be as succinct as possible with it. Having grown up in North Carolina, Eastern North Carolina, and having gone to East Carolina, I could speak pretty well to this. It is culturally. It really has nothing to do with anything with football. The football, if you will, rivalry is a little deeper with NC State, has more historic history in it with NC State, East Carolina NC State does, than UNC. Without getting too technical with all the, as far as the off-the-field stuff, I think it has to do with, for years, Board of Governors, heavy UNC influence. East Carolina feels like they've been slighted in that. They used to tell you that if the budget was a pie that went to the universities, North Carolina got half of it, State got the quarter of it, and then the other 14 schools were left to fight out that final quarter of funding. I know Duke gets a bad rap for kind of being elitist and that sort of thing, but if you grew up in Eastern North Carolina, all the, if you will, rich boys, all the snooty guys went to UNC, and so it's kind of, it's that cultural thing. I guess it's the elitist versus, just kind of the average guy, the good old boy, if you will, in a lot of ways. And so I think it's a lot to do with that culturally off the field.
Thank you.
There you go. A satisfied Shane Ryan. What could be a better segue?
Can I ask the other 7 people also to give me their own explanation before we move on?
Shane, you could have Googled it.
You want me to take a nap?
The tailgate special from Smithfield's Chicken and Barbecue. It's 8 pieces of chicken, a pint of barbecue, any 2 sides, 2 dozen hush puppies, and a whole gallon of tea. Just go to realtailgate.com for details, coupons, and a list of locations that open early on game day.
We do have another topic.
Oh my gosh!
I hope it's only one because we're going to run out of time here.
Is Shane filibustering?
I think that may be it.
And another thing about East Carolina.
Well, you asked, and I told you, so
I appreciate it. I think it
was a good thing. I'm not fussing. Yeah, but we do want to get to this next topic because it's a big one. It's been very, very hot. Well, I don't know, hot. I wouldn't call it hot, but it's popular to talk about, and it has been for a long time. So there's a WRAL documentary, College Sports, Mission Money, and a bunch of people have been talking about it, and even Coach Cut, and I'm going to assume that's Coach Cutcliffe, made comments recently about the full cost of attendance. So is the focus on it now the result of an actual change in public opinion about money and college athletics, etc.? Or is it just new debate about the same old topic, something that's not going to change, at least not in the near future? So Sean Crest, awfully quiet there on the end. Hopefully I didn't embarrass you at the beginning.
No, that's fine. I don't feel like there's anything new on this issue. I feel like they're just restirring the same debate. I don't think you hear much from fans talking about this issue. It's more a few vocal media members who've kind of gotten things started. I know Jay Billis has been very vocal about the NCAA, and that kind of got the whole ball rolling on this. And I was there for Cut's comments yesterday at the media day. He was responding to a question about Arian Foster saying that he took money, and Cut basically said, student athletes aren't as bad off as you think. They get meal money when the school isn't in session. They're taken care of. If they really are needy, then there are Pell Grants for them. And he said, and I thought this was a pretty surprising comment for its honesty, if a kid is starving, if a kid doesn't have a place to live, I'm going to break an NCAA rule, and I think most coaches would do that as well. They're not going to just let a kid starve. They're there to take care of the kids. And so I think that Cut was very vocal about the fact that the student athletes have it a little bit better than has been portrayed.
I'll follow that up since everyone else is quiet here. I think there are a couple things. One is the accusation that this is being brought up locally now because of the problems that UNC had is pretty hysterical to think that people actually have that opinion. But what I want to talk about is this, and this kind of surprises me that I came to this conclusion. Nothing is going to get solved here because the problem that needs to be solved impacts a group that can't or won't do anything about it. It's not for me to change it. It's not for the schools to change it. The NCAA is the schools. If the players want to get paid, they need to figure out the solution of how that's going to happen. And there's not a players' union, and because of that, I don't think it'll ever change. But that's just the way it is. They provide the value, but if they want to get paid for it, they need to figure out how that's going to happen. It's their problem. It's not mine.
I agree with you to a certain extent, but I think that one of the things that has come to light recently that most of us know because we follow sports and we actually care. To the average fan, they don't really even understand how the whole system works. And the biggest problem that I have on the side of the players is that all you ever hear about is that, oh, it's a free education, it's a free education, it's a free education, and that's fine and good, but it's not free, and it's 1 year renewable. And while I don't think that they should be paid, I think that they should have more flexibility in what they can do. For me, the biggest thing is that a kid can't transfer without sitting out a year. If you're going to use that argument, allow him to get out of the scholarship the same way the school can get out of the scholarship at the end of the year, and don't make him sit out. If the situation where he is isn't good for him or her, they should be allowed to leave with no consequence and go play wherever they want to play.
First of all, I think Jeff Lebo's very excited that they included highlights of the Pirate basketball team in all the college athletics. I think that he's got to be elated now. That's what winning the CIT will do.
Yeah, they're national champs, man.
National champs. They're one of the few that won their last game. I'd have to disagree with Rasheem in that they are getting an education. They eat pretty good. They get money.
But it's not free. That's the word that irritates me. Well, everybody says it's free except us because we understand it's not.
Right.
That's my point. That's the information that's coming to light now is that we know that, but the average fan will always go back to that it's a free education, and it's not free.
It's not a free education. They are earning the education, but doesn't the onus fall on them to I mean, the T.A. McClendon thing at the beginning was heart-wrenching, but it's not NC State's fault that T.A. McClendon sold drugs. It's not NC State's fault that T.A. McClendon served time in prison.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you.
He didn't take advantage of the opportunity given to him, and that's how these kids have to view it, is it is an opportunity to I mean, who among us here doesn't have some kind of student debt, or in some form nowadays, and certainly this generation has a ton of it. It's an opportunity, and they need to take advantage of it, I think, a little bit more.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, the Ed O'Bannon thing is certainly going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I do think there has to be something that has to be created if a jersey is sold or if a likeness is used to be able to compensate that player, whether it's the star player or the 12th man in basketball, needs to receive some kind of money if their likeness is used or a jersey is sold with their number on.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I understand the free education argument, and I'm not even going to go into that, but when you look at things like jersey sales and the use of their likeness, I think that's the thing that bothers me the most, because you go to any store on UNC's campus and you see a number 2 football jersey, I wonder who that could belong to. Or who is it, Louisville, that was selling the teddy bears and they had Teddy Bridgewater's number on it, and you're just like, all right. So I don't think it's fair that none of those kids see any of that money because it is their likeness. And I understand they signed it all away at the beginning of their time at school, but it's because they have to.
Yeah, and that's really the only way to make this, even remotely fair. Because you can't pay players, because if you pay the star players, you got to pay the 85th guy on the football team.
Why do you have to?
Because
that's not how it works
if the school's going to do it, you have to.
No, that's not how it works in the real world. The players on
when
NFL rosters,
has college athletics ever been
paid
compared to the real world?
But
if you're talking about a pay-for-play system, I think Deanna's right in that there's no reason we can't have merit-based pay. I mean, that's how things work. You can certainly it's not hard to determine somebody's value. Oh, I mean, that's the market. The market determines that, just like everywhere else.
Well, that's why just allowing them to market themselves is the best way to do it. Don't remove the schools from it completely.
And that's another. Let them do their own endorsement deals as well. If they're truly star players, then they can make money signing autographs. Let them do that. But the whole Title IX argument comes into play then. I mean, the legality of this whole thing would come into play then.
But again, I say, I'm sorry, women's softball in the real world doesn't make as much money as the NBA. That's the real world. That's just the way it is.
And again, I agree with you, but again, they're like Patrick said, because of Title IX primarily, there are going to be some legal things to consider if you start paying players. If the schools start paying players, Title IX is going to be invoked by somebody.
Yeah.
Well,
it's unfortunate,
really, if it's a free market system, what would Title IX? I mean, as long as there's equal funding still for the different sports, or equal participation, or equal scholarships,
there is
or whatever.
equal funding.
Well, if you consider funding like paying the players, but could that be a separate thing? That is like, I guess not. I don't know.
Guys,
I can see your point.
I completely agree with the point, but the facts are that men's basketball, and college football are going to get most of the money from the universities. If the universities are paying the players, there has to be some way that the other sports are paid, because all sports have to be treated quote unquote equally.
So is this the start of the argument that Title IX is anti-labor?
Guys, Title IX has nothing to do with it. Title IX is a red herring in all of this. If you want to bring in the real world and talk about college sports, name any other industry that we're having a national debate about it being fair, how much people are getting paid. It just doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
No, because college sports is the only revenue-generating thing that we know of in the country, really, that the employees don't get paid.
Okay, here's my issue with this. What they get, and if any one of us has been searching for a job recently, the key thing is getting an interview, right? The job interview that college athletes get for professional sports is a huge advantage compared to any other student in college, right?
Right.
Again, we're not talking about they're not getting benefits, right? They're getting set up for their career. And really, if you want to talk about it not being fair, it's not fair to the people who aren't ever going to play professional sports, which is
right.
90% of the athletes.
That goes back to my first point, whereas if a kid gets here for 1 year and realizes that he's not going to get the best interview, he should be able to leave whenever he wants to. Just like the school can say, you aren't good enough to play here. It just all, to me, it goes back to fairness, in that it's not a 4-year scholarship. That's bottom line. Most people don't understand or realize that, but it's not. And if the kid isn't getting the best interview, he should be able to go where he is going to get that interview, so to speak.
But why do we care about being fair? That's what I don't get. Like, why do we care?
Well, why is there a Title IX if we don't care about being fair? It's not that we have to care about it.
In the world.
I mean, if we're going to be fair, they're going to get NFL and NBA salaries. I mean, I don't see how giving them a stipend is really going to help solve any of the problems that we're seeing. Reggie Bush got a house from USC. I don't see that giving him $1,000 a week is going to have him, the next Reggie Bush, say, "No, I don't need a house. I'm getting this stipend, so my needs are set."
Right.
He's still underpaid. He gets a house and he's still underpaid.
He probably makes less money now than he made at USC, if we're honest about it.
I wanted to go to the part about that Dijana brought up about, players and their likeness being used to make money for the school. We had Debbie Al on the show this week, or last week, I should say, and she had a good idea, and it's one that I've heard before and that I like, and that is, you take the money that a player earns for their school, track how much, jersey sales are, T-shirts with their likeness on, put that into an escrow account, and if the player graduates in good standing, let them collect some of that money. Use that as a carrot of sorts to keep the guys in school, keep them on track, and if they don't make it to the NFL, but they have a great career and they sell a ton of jerseys, then there's still something there for them at the end of the road that's not, hey, you're, chewed up meat to us at this point, see you when we see you. They're getting something at the end of the deal that is more than just simply, a free education.
But those players, going back to what Ben said about these players getting a better crack at an interview than any other student, I disagree with that, number one. Because what do you got, like 90 people on a football team? 5 of them got a better shot at an interview. 5 of them going to earn money to go to escrow account to have something at the end.
Yeah, I
You
think
know what I'm
I think
saying?
you're
The other
overestimating.
75 or 80 at Carolina or State or East Carolina, they're not worth crap. I mean, when you compare them to a Reggie
No.
Bush or something like that.
No, I mean, I think you're underestimating. You go into a classroom of 100 kids. How many of those kids are going to get interviews right out of school? I think you're underestimating that.
What do we mean by interviews right out of school? Like, are we talking about guys getting interviewed for the NFL? Cause
No. I'm talking about a job.
More
right?
real
Just like-
world.
I mean, we want to compare this to the real world. I just want to point out how foolish that is.
Well, and that's why we have to stop
No,
comparing
they
it to the
have
real world.
a degree in sociology or you know, a business or I mean, where there's thousands and thousands of candidates. I don't believe that.
I feel like that could go both ways because there are times where I feel like student athletes get discriminated against because, oh, you only got into college because you were a student athlete, and then there are times where it's like, oh, you know, you're part of the athletic program, let me give you this advantage. So I think you can make the argument both ways.
Now, if we just went to the baseball system where you can either turn pro when you're 18 or you have to stay in college for a certain number of years, wouldn't that make it better just in the sense that it's like, okay, look, if you're going to college, you're at least making the choice to buy into this system rather than you're forced to buy into the system because there's no minor league football organization you can play in?
It would in basketball. It would help it immensely. It would help the quality of the game for basketball immensely if they go ahead and do that.
But do we see any kids out of football, high school playing in the NFL?
Well,
that's not going to happen.
High school.
Well, you
kids
definitely
are
there are
playing
some
NFL.
kids that could definitely go right into the NFL. I mean, right?
There's one
high school.
every 10 years.
Out of
Yeah.
high school?
One
The only
kid
guy
every
I
10
could think
years.
of would be
If they can do it
Mario
in baseball
Williams.
and basketball, why not football?
But baseball has a minor league system. Like they have the farm teams, and you work your way up to that.
Right, but what about basketball? There's people who can play.
Basketball, you don't have 280-pound men
That as
hitting
well.
150-pound men.
Shane, you look at rosters and see how many true freshmen are actually playing in college. Not to mention the NFL.
I'm not saying it's easy, but they should at least have the choice. Like, there's got to be a LeBron James of football that comes around every once in a while, and people like that who are
the choice that
capable of
you're
it.
offering them is no
Pryor,
choice for most of them.
Well, sure, it's no choice. That's fair enough. I get, and in that case, I guess maybe like, is there a way to have a minor league football system, or is that completely impossible? Is that college
We do.
basically
It's
now?
called the NCAA.
If you start
No,
paying
yeah, all right.
I can assure you.
We're running out of time, guys. Let's go through and give a parting shot real quick. It doesn't have to be on this topic. It could be on an upcoming game, a prior game, or your cat. So Sean Crest.
I had my cat. She was ready to come on air, but she just jumped down. She got sick of waiting. So Zoe says hi.
Excellent. Shane Ryan.
I don't have a parting shot today. I just love being here with you guys, and I'm feeling very spiritually fulfilled right now. So thank you all.
All righty. Rasheem Lee.
I don't want schools paying the players, but I think they should be able to market themselves, and it really is, in my opinion, the only fair way to solve some of the problems that we have. Not all of them, but some.
All right. Patrick Johnson.
To pick up on James's point, that is certainly one of the most. I actually agree with what Yao said there. Unlike when she said East Carolina had a psychological advantage over NC State a few years ago. That's actually a good suggestion she brought up there.
Okay, before I get to the most beautiful end of the panelists here,
Ben.
no offense.
Me?
James and his hair. But anyway, let's keep. I've gotten a message from our sponsor, Smithfield Chicken and Barbecue, reminding you it's just not a tailgate without the barbecue. They're interested in hearing the rest of what you have to say about this. Not all of you, Ben, but most of you. Our sponsors would like us to keep going this time. Make it a special sort of deal here, like a once in a lifetime event.
This is like an extended play LP. Are we all old enough to remember those, by the way? I think so.
This is a hidden track.
Okay, all right.
So anyway, I'm sorry to have cut you off. I didn't get the message till after I had started rounding things up.
No, that's fine.
But let's, my personal opinion, and this isn't an old topic for me to discuss. I've been talking about this for 20 years, I think, and probably most of you have. But what Shane sort of maybe drove the conversation to is, the fact that there is no minor league football. And my thing has always been just make one. The NCAA is driven by profit, period, end of story, and they're a monopoly. So,
but it's not the NCAA.
Make their own league.
Yeah, there's no incentive for the NFL to do it.
Right.
Because the NCAA does it for them.
Right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The schools don't have to allow the NCAA, right?
The schools are the NCAA. That's the biggest mistake that everyone is making in this conversation. Is the schools are the NCAA.
Well, the president.
There isn't some like shady backroom operation that makes these decisions in place.
Well, there is, but
there's college presidents. It's the school.
I understand what you're saying, Ben. I do, but I mean, as a taxpayer in North Carolina, I don't want to pay players with my tax money. Now, I'm sure that argument can be dispelled by, oh, well, it's going to be all of our revenues. But how many teams in North Carolina are actually that profitable across the entire athletic department? I mean, is Wake Forest making a living, paying for their whatever, swim team to fly to California to compete in meets or whatever? I mean, are they actually making a profit as a department?
They're private, so screw those guys. Who cares?
Well, that was a bad example. I apologize. UNC Charlotte.
Yes, poor Charlotte. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, and I think you're right to say that when the haves have the ability to start paying players, they're going to have more money to pay than the Charlottes, the East Carolinas of the world, and so that gap might widen even further. I don't. I think the reason why this debate has raged on as long as it has is because there's no easy answers.
Yeah.
It's people think it's the big bad NCAA that's keeping the minor league system from starting up, but it's the NFL that would have to institute that, and they've already got a built-in minor league with the NCAA. Same thing. I know the NBA has the NBDL, but they get to see all of the prime draft picks in action. In NCAA action in basketball, so they have no real incentive to create a MLB type minor league. So, yeah, there's no easy answers, and I don't know that paying the players is the answer. So I've said a lot, and I have said nothing at all.
Well, I think the other thing with the minor league, it's incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
Fund and start a football program. Could you imagine starting a league of any kind? And the NFL may have the money to do it, but they don't want to invest the money into starting up a minor league football league because it's incredibly expensive to start football. I mean, look, that documentary displayed how much Charlotte had to invest for a 15,000-seat stadium to start up a program that they will never, ever show any kind of profit for them.
It's also incredibly expensive to scout if you don't have them all located at colleges, and that's one of the problems baseball has. And that's why the NBA pushed for this one-and-done rule, so they didn't have to send their scouts to all the high schools around the country, so they could just have everybody go to college for a year, so they'd be able to scout them there.
And they just wanted to save some GMs' jobs who were making terrible decisions.
And that's the thing. The people who can make these decisions, and in this case, it's the college presidents who make up the NCAA, or it's the NFL or the NBA, whatever sport you're talking about. Every decision is going to be made based on business, and it's not going to be what's fair for the kids, which is why I think it's so ridiculous that we start this conversation talking about what's fair, knowing that no decision's ever going to be made based on what's fair.
But here's the thing, real quick though. There's a love on some people's part of the status quo. It's like there's a secret joy in saying, well, there's no solution, so we're not going to be fair, or we're not going to change anything because it's too difficult. But I feel like the fact that people are ignoring is that kids who are over the age of 18 who would be able to make money from their skills in any other profession can't do it here. And that's inherently wrong, and it's inherently unfair, and I think that is the central issue. To not adjust that somehow, of course, there's no easy solution, and I certainly don't know enough to even offer even like the bare bones of a solution, but it is wrong, and it should be changed.
You know what? I'm looking for more than anything else. I don't even want to say fair at this point because you're right. There's nothing that's going to be fair comparable to the billions of dollars that they're generating to compensate them, quote unquote, fairly. How about just better?
Yeah.
Let's just make it better than it is.
There's that old phrase, don't let perfect be the enemy of good, and I think that applies here. There's never going to be a perfect solution. They're not going to make what they're worth, certainly, but they can certainly make something, and it can be merit-based, like Dijana was saying. There's no reason that all can't happen, despite the obstacles in the way. If people really wanted it to happen, and we weren't so in love with the money that they're making and the status quo and everything, it would happen.
Can I address the merit thing real quick? Let's say you're a player, you're an offensive lineman on Texas A&M's football squad right now, and Johnny Manziel's cashing in. He's getting every penny he gets from signing autographs. He gets every penny he gets from selling jerseys. Are you okay with the fact that your quarterback, who's back there, admittedly he's scrambling for his life probably because you're not doing as good a job as you probably should be. But
throw the line under the bus.
But are you okay with the fact that your teammate, is suddenly bringing in, 20 G's, maybe more, while you're trying to make it on a per diem? Is that okay?
Yeah, but James, that's life, man. That's like it happens in the NFL. Quarterbacks make more money. It happens in everything. Like people that are more talented make more money.
But
right,
and
I'm not saying it has to be perfectly split. I'm not saying that Johnny Manziel gets equal pay, but maybe we can find a middle ground where, let's say Manziel brings in 10K, he gets half of that, and the rest is split across his teammates. So Joe Blow on the offensive line gets a little scratch from Manziel's talents, but Manziel gets the lion's share of it.
Merit-based pay creates a bidding war for every player in the country.
Exactly.
Every school is going to go to their rival and say, "You're only getting $200 a week from them. We'll give you $250," and that's going to be going on constantly with every player.
But why shouldn't it?
Isn't that kind of the case already? I mean, think about, and they don't use money to get players, but that's still the case. You're going to use your facilities and things like that, and the Oklahoma State scandal and sex, and yes, you're going to use anything to get players to come to your school. I mean. Boosters use money. Why not the school use money?
Well, Sean, I don't think you can have it set that a school gets to determine how much they can give you. I think if you give it to the school's authority, the Alabamas are going to outbid everybody in the world. The Texases are going to outbid everybody in the world. So
Right.
the NCAA would have to regulate what the school could give the player. But if a player is good enough to where his jersey is selling like hotcakes, he should get some of that cash. And some of his teammates should get some of that as well.
That makes sense, but then you have the Buddy Garrity rules, and we talk about this all the time on Bottom of the Pile. Buddy Garrity is the crooked car dealer from Friday Night Lights. Every program in America has a Buddy Garrity, and you can say that it's more fair to just get the jersey money, but then Buddy Garrity is going to go out and buy 10,000 number 2 Bryn Renner jerseys to keep him here at Carolina. It's the same thing. I mean, it's just it's laundering paying the players.
And I think what we need is a Lila Garrity rule. I don't know what that would entail or what it would mean, but I feel like it would help somehow.
Yeah, you're never going to get cheating out because we've used this analogy before, but it's like PEDs in any sport. If you ban one substance, they're just going to come up with another one. If you cut off one way to cheat, the sleazy car dealers of the world are going to find a different way to cheat. But like Shane said, let's not let perfect get in the way of good, and maybe we can improve the current system we have that compensates guys who are earning a lot of cash for their schools and the NCAA.
To use another TV analogy here, guys, if we're talking about solutions, the real way to fix this is Hamsterdam. Is you deregulate everything and just let schools do what they're going to do, let boosters do what they're going to do.
Just go straight Wild Wild West.
Exactly. That's the fix. If you want to fix it, then fix it that way. That's fine.
I'm all for if you got a T. Boone Pickens who wants to give billions of dollars to young men who can run 100-yard dash in 10 seconds, go for it.
Go Longhorns.
But there were no truant officers in Amsterdam, so that's not a school activity anymore. So don't call them students. Don't make them go to class. Keep them away from the other students.
Or why not create a specific major for? No, I'm serious. Why not create a specific major for people that think that for student athletes that can major in something like athletics or I'm not exactly sure what it would be, but managing their money and that kind of stuff.
There's definitely an education that needs to be gained by any of those athletes who even are, if they aren't going to go pro, you may want to get into the field in some fashion because there are, like you said, there are things involved with getting that money and being around it and dealing with just being a superstar athlete, especially in this country. I mean, yeah, you're right. An entire curriculum could be built around football 101, if you will.
Well, what good does that curriculum do for a guy like a T.A. McClendon who suffers a bunch of injuries, ends up not going pro, He's no better off than he was.
Well, it's the same as any other curriculum for that guy, but at least if he doesn't get injured and he does get to that point, he's better equipped to deal with it.
Well, but then
and
it goes
not
back
be
to
broken 3
and I
years
think what you're
after
getting
he
at there,
after he
which is
turned
good.
pro.
Maybe he didn't fall asleep in sociology class. Maybe he's awake during sports agent class.
I
if
think
it's
that we
if it's
all
a topic
fell
that
asleep
they
in sociology class.
Yeah, but if it's a topic that they're genuinely interested in, like coaching or how to become an agent, things like that apply to their current line of work, and let's call it work, then they're more apt to be engaged and probably learn a bit more than they do, snoozing through sociology.
At what point, though, are they not allowed to pick their own major when they go there?
When the coach says,
when they're getting paid,
this, I want you taking that, and you're 18 years old and you're scared to death of the coach.
Well, you don't get to pick at Carolina anyways.
Yeah, I mean that happens now, guys, even in non-revenue sports. I mean, being real about that, right? Kids want to major in something, but they can't because of their schedule, right? I mean, I used to coach soccer, and I had kids that went to school, and the coaches were telling them, no, you can't major in this because we've got practice at night, and you have a lab at night, so you can't do it. It happens. But I'm one solution that I'm all in favor for is that idea of an athletic major that Dijana talked about. That's a great way to provide those kids an education on the job that they're going to have when they get out of school. And sometimes part of that education is, look, you need to pick another line of work because you're not gonna be playing pro ball.
Well, at the very least, they're going to learn some business, and who can't use that education?
And I mean, the most valuable class I probably took at State was a personal finance class.
Why is that not required?
It should be.
It's required in junior high.
Right.
No, it was never required. Yeah.
So I mean, how many of these guys graduate, go on to pro careers, having not taken any sort of personal finance class? They hit the lottery by getting drafted in the first round. And, it's all gone within 10 years.
But doesn't the NFL now just take the time to educate them in the rookie symposium and all that as well?
Yeah, that's
too late.
Working out well.
Too late. It's too late.
Yeah, they've already got the money. I mean,
And the symposium is 2 days long.
It's a party. Symposium is a party, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, theoretically, when you have that much money, financial management shouldn't be that difficult, right? You should be able to keep a little bit of it. If they're failing, they're making an active choice to fail, to lose all that money, because you have to try to spend that much, basically.
You get that many hangers on, that many boys in your posse. I mean, it goes fast. It goes real fast. And
James, you sound like you have personal experience.
Yes.
I'm in James's posse, and I can confirm I milk him dry.
I'm still trying to cash in on all my jersey
make it
sales.
hail, but I don't make it rain.
I'm still trying to cash in on all my jersey sales.
Hey, James, speaking of personal finance, I like that shirt.
Thank you.
How much did that run you?
That was 90 cents.
Sweet.
At a thrift store yesterday. I was so excited. It's got the Cleveland Cavaliers logo on the back. I could not be more excited.
How much money did you take shopping?
$5.
Don't answer that. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. I think we've pretty much.
How much is in your savings account, James?
A $5.
Ben Swain
James, do they make
guests?
Do they make no witnesses shirts for Shad Thornton?
All right, let's try the roundup again. I'm going to go back to the beginning and start with Sean Crest.
God.
My cat's still not here, but thanks.
All right. Shane?
I didn't renew my passport this April when it went overdue, and now it's right here. And now I have to.
All right.
Rashim. Follow that one.
Rashim Lee.
I just hope everybody likes my new haircut. I shaved it all off.
That's
all I got.
Patrick Johnson.
I look forward to being at Chapel Hill this weekend. The stroll from where I'm going to park, the beautiful Keenan Stadium, and the tailgate. I'm sure both of the tailgaters there for UNC will be welcoming to the folks from East Carolina.
Chapel Hill's the only place I've ever tailgated in a parking deck.
Yeah.
James Curl.
Just the usual. I mean, sorry. The Browns are calling me back again. I'm sorry.
Browns again.
I'll get that later. But
Right.
I want to thank you again for having me on.
We're glad to have you, Dijana.
Thank you to everyone for not mispronouncing my name. It's a win. That's a win for me. This was a win.
We love you, Dijana.
You had to ruin it, didn't you? You had to go there.
We've apparently set the bar very low for Deanna in her time on the Hangout.
Ben Swain, any final thoughts?
Coach Cutcliffe, if you're watching this and you're willing to throw out some NCAA violations, buy a defense.
Definitely watching.
All right. I want to thank everybody. It's a great show. Really appreciate it. Thanks to our sponsors for letting us completely air ourselves out on this topic. Great discussion. Thanks very much to Smithfield's Chicken and Barbecue. One more time, without the barbecue.
Right during the promo. Try it again, Jay.
Yeah, do the promo again.
What?
Somebody hit a bell or an award right during the Smithfield's promo. We need to give them the appropriate amount of love.
Yes, we do.
Absolutely. And that was a very scholarly statement. So, all right. Thanks very much to Smithfield's Chicken
They should have never gave you guys money.
Terrible people.
I'm going to reach out to our technical people and ask, can we mute these people?
Yeah. Who gets to be fired?
Can you mute them? I know we already have a commercial, but I'm supposed to say this stuff. So, all right, it's just not a tailgate without the barbecue. Make sure to check out the RealTailgate.com college football podcast. That's Rashim and Dimitri. You can get that at RealTailgate.com, themesh.tv, or on iTunes. I'm Jay Waldo. Our producer's Ben Swain. Thanks very much. We enjoyed having you. We'll see you next week.
The tailgate special from Smithfield's Chicken and Barbecue. It's 8 pieces of chicken, a pint of barbecue, any 2 sides, 2 dozen hush puppies, and a whole gallon of tea. Just go to realtailgate.com for details, coupons, and a list of locations that open early on game day.
Themesh.tv, an online network of original free audio and video shows based out of Western North Carolina, reaching the entire world. Listen and watch through iTunes or through the website themesh.tv.